I've worked the midnight shift at the City Museum for 5 years, and I've never gotten used to the way the exhibits seem to shift and whisper in the dark. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but as the months went by, I started to notice that certain displays were actually changing. It wasn't just the way the shadows fell or the way the air conditioning vents hummed. I'm talking about actual physical changes. The dinosaur fossils would be arranged differently, or the ancient Egyptian sarcophagi would be swapped out for different ones. I tried to brush it off as the museum staff rearranging things during the day, but I knew that wasn't it. They didn't work on the exhibits at night, and even if they did, they wouldn't be able to get everything back in place by the time I made my rounds. I started to feel like I was going crazy, like my mind was playing tricks on me. But then I started to notice a pattern. Every hour on the hour, the exhibits would change. It was always something small, but it was always something. I started to look forward to my hourly rounds, just to see what would be different. The exhibit on medieval armor would have a different suit of armor in the center, or the display case on gemstones would have a new arrangement of rocks. It was like the museum was trying to tell me something, but I had no idea what. I started to feel like I was in some kind of twisted game, where the rules kept changing and I was the only player. I tried to talk to my coworkers about it, but they just thought I was bored or crazy. They didn't believe me when I told them about the changing exhibits, and they didn't understand why I was so obsessed with figuring out what was going on. I started to feel like I was completely alone, like I was the only one who saw the truth. But then, one night, I saw something that made my blood run cold. I was making my rounds at 3 a.m., and I walked into the exhibit on ancient civilizations. And that's when I saw it, a new display case, one that I had never seen before. It was filled with artifacts that I didn't recognize, and it had a sign that read, "The Lost City of Z." I had never heard of such a place, and I didn't know what to make of it. But as I looked closer, I saw something that made my heart skip a beat. The artifacts in the case were all facing the wrong direction. They were all turned to face the back of the case, like they were trying to hide something. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that someone, or something, was trying to communicate with me. But what did it want to say? I didn't have time to think about it, because as I turned to leave, I heard a noise behind me. It was a low whisper, barely audible, but it sent shivers down my spine. I spun around, but there was no one there. The whisper seemed to be coming from all around me, echoing off the walls. I tried to tell myself it was just the wind or my imagination, but deep down, I knew it was something more. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the whisper stopped. The silence was deafening, and I was left standing there, frozen in fear. I didn't know what to do, or what was happening. All I knew was that I had to get out of there, and fast. I turned and ran, not stopping until I was back in the safety of my security booth. I locked the door behind me and tried to catch my breath, but my mind was racing. What was going on? What did the whisper mean? And what was the purpose of the changing exhibits? I didn't have any answers, but I knew one thing: I had to get to the bottom of it. I started to research the museum's history, looking for any clues that might explain what was happening. I spent hours poring over old records and talking to former employees, but I couldn't find anything that seemed relevant. It wasn't until I stumbled upon an old diary hidden away in the museum's archives that I finally found a lead. The diary belonged to a former curator, and it detailed a series of strange occurrences that had happened at the museum over the years. The curator had written about the changing exhibits and how they seemed to be arranged by some unseen force. But the most chilling entry was the one that described the whisper. The curator had heard it too, and had been driven to the brink of madness by its relentless echoing in his mind. I felt a chill run down my spine as I read the words, and I knew that I had to be careful. I was dealing with something that was beyond my understanding, something that could potentially destroy me. But I couldn't stop now. I had to know the truth no matter what it took. And so, I continued my investigation, following a trail of clues that led me deeper and deeper into the heart of the mystery. I discovered that the museum was built on an old burial ground, and that the exhibits were arranged in a specific pattern to appease the spirits of the dead. But I also found out that the pattern was changing, and that the spirits were growing restless. I realized that I was trapped in a desperate game of cat and mouse, where the stakes were my very soul. And then, just as I thought I had finally uncovered the truth, I received a message that made my blood run cold. It was a simple note, tucked away in my security booth, with just 2 words scrawled on it: "They're waiting." I didn't know who had written it or what it meant, but I knew one thing: I had to get out of there, and fast. I grabbed my things and ran, not stopping until I was out of the museum and into the bright sunlight. I didn't dare look back, fearing what I might see. And as I emerged into the bustling streets, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unblinking eyes were trained on me from the shadows. I knew then that I would never be able to go back to my old life, that I would always be haunted by the memories of what I had seen. And as I walked away from the museum, I couldn't help but wonder, what was waiting for me, and when would it come for me?